are Tyrians. We are many races, several professions. We practice the arts of combat as well as healing. We have foes, and we fight them without mercy. And it's time for us to claim back what is ours. It's time for us to claim back Tyria from the terror of the Elder Dragons. We can't go on living our lives in fear. We have to fight. We have to make a stand. This is our story.
Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to episode number 31 of the Chronicles of Tyria podcast, Guild Wars 2 podcast, for fans, by fans. This week we're going to be talking about the 5 main racial cities for the 5 main races of Tyria. We'll also be joined by our special guest, Alucardalina, who some of you may know from our guild and from I believe is 2 other times on Chronicles of Tyria podcast. But before that, CoT Weekly starts now. All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Lagwyn. No new gear tiers. Hey, Kaysee, I don't think they can hear you. You're on mute again. The whole time.
I don't know what to do with this mute. If you guys enjoyed me miming again, I do this every time. Okay, guys.
Only 3 times in a row, but whatever.
Oh boy. So I should probably start from the beginning. And I'm Kaysee. That's where we left off. After weeks of barely any news, ArenaNet has released blog after blog this week with all sorts of information regarding what we can expect in 2013. We're not going to delve into much information, but here's a quick breakdown as we discuss of what they discussed. In general, expansion of the achievement system and new rewards. New gear tiers between tiers between Ascended and Legendary in 2013, new guild missions, guesting, a redesign of boss encounters to make them more interesting, improvement of the looking for group tool, improvement to Fractals of the Mist, and paid server transfers. In World vs. World, they continue working on culling, because I know a lot of people still have issues with that, and a new reward/prestige system. Visible titles, the final game score for weeks will not only be the only reason for winning. In PvP, reward system rehaul allow less competitive players to find matches with players of similar skill, custom arenas with observer mode, thankfully, and visible rank leaderboards. Major tournaments are mentioned as a long-term goal.
Alright, yes, I just want to point out that there were 2 ArenaNet live streams today that they kind of delved in a little bit into more of what Kaysee talked about. We'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. And there were actually 2 images in the blog post that's mentioned there. If you're following along with the show notes that I posted on Facebook, you can see all the links there. I know some people within our guild expressed a lot of interest in the mystery cat tonic and the something von Snuffles the third mini pet.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. So, but anyway, let's keep going with the news. So, as Kaysee mentioned before, guesting is something. They released a new blog about that just 2 days ago, I believe. So, we're finally going to get something we've been hearing about since the launch of the game. So, guesting, and coming with guesting will also be paid server transfers. So, like Kaysee mentioned, the 28th. Well, she might have not have mentioned it when she was able to talk to you guys. So, the 28th is when guesting will appear, and I'm assuming because they're adding that in, that's also when we can expect the big January content update on the 28th. Once that hits, though, if you're on another server, it's going to cost you gems to transfer to another server. So if you're not on the server you want to watch, I don't know if Dan's back on our server yet. It's time to get back over here. You got till the 28th. You're going to have to pay money to do so. There are a few restrictions regarding guesting, though. You can only guest within your region. So if you're in a North American region, you can't guest to a European server, and vice versa. You can only participate on your home server's World v World team. So you can't go participate on like a Blackgate team if you're on Tarnished Coast, because it's all about pride for your server. You can only guest to 2 worlds at a time. Each time you guest on a world, that world becomes one of your eligible guest worlds for the next 24 hours. After 24 hours, you can choose to guest on a different world. You can log in into any world you're eligible as a guest on as many times as you wish with no restriction. And guesting on a full or highly populated server increases your risk of being put in an overflow map.
In previous forum posts, ArenaNet has mentioned the potential of a legendary precursor scavenger hunt, and there's some good news and bad news regarding this. Colin Johansson, game director at ArenaNet, confirmed that it would be implemented, but they're not working on it right now. And this is just what he mentioned in a forum post. Hey guys, just a quick update on where the whole scavenger hunt system stands, since I know that it's a topic of many of you have brought up recently. We're not currently actively working on building any sort of legendary precursor scavenger hunt. This is something we want to do in the future, but we're in the midst of designing how this would function, but no one is actively building this feature, and you should not expect it in the January, February, March release at this point. And, you know, it's also important to mention that Lindsay Murdoch mentioned it on the official forums about a month ago that she was working on it. So to clarify, Colin followed this up with, to clarify, since I think the two statements would be confusing without context, Lindsay is indeed working on designing the system, but which would add precursor scavengers hunt to the game. We are not actively implementing that design yet. It hasn't been finalized, and building it that would involve a much larger team. So there is no conflicting statements here. As a game designer, when they're working on something, usually it means they're designing it as their job.
So, did you ever wonder whatever happened to any of the siege equipment that you set down and come back to later, and then it's all gone? Well, Mike Ferguson has the answer for you. He posted this to clear up any kind of issues people have with this. And I'll just read his quote because it's easier than trying to summarize it. Unbuilt siege sites that are placed by players will go away if someone does not bring supply to them within 10 minutes. Anyone that adds supply to a site will reset that timer. And completed siege that's not being manned by anyone will despawn in a half an hour. And then actually it's going to be a lot of world versus world stuff here, so bear with me. He goes on to describe the reasons behind the method, and he talks about, you know, it's all about server restrictions and data being transferred. But he did say they would like to put in, if they found an appropriate way to visualize the despawn timer, so that you will know how much time it is, so you could literally sit there and be like, okay, I'll just jump on this siege equipment, now the half an hour reset time starts again. But they haven't figured out a way they want to do that, so they're not going to work on that right now. Alright, how about siege limits? Ever wonder how come you only see like 5 pieces of siege equipment here, 5 there, but not like a whole bunch lumped up right on a door? Well, there are 2 basic hard limits to siege placement. There's a limit to how many siege weapons can be placed within a certain radius of each other. He says, we tried to set it to be fairly lenient. Right now you can set 5 siege weapons, sites or completed weapons within any 1,000 unit radius. When he says 1,000 unit radius, if you were to cast any of your spells, like if your spell has 1,200 range, that's 1,200 units. So this is 1,000. If you try to place a new site somewhere within a radius that already has its limit, the placement will fail, but you should still have the weapon bundle in your hands, so you can try to place it somewhere else. There's also a hard limit to how many weapons can be placed on a map. This map limit is a bit harder to explain as it's based on some internal concepts that don't translate well to layman terms, but basically anything that is not a ram counts towards one limit for the purpose of this explanation, and each team can have up to 100 of these type of weapons out at any map, any time per map. Each team can also have up to 100 rams placed on a map. And then he just says a few points. I'll just kind of run through these. There's no hard limit to the amount of players on a map, and when he talks about that, it's not like 100 players per map and that's it, or let's say 150 and 50 from each server. It's pretty much dictated by what their server speeds are at the time. So on any given day, one map could have more players than another map when they're at max, and it is divided up evenly between the 3 servers that are competing in the map, the total amount of resources. And Mesmer clones, Ranger pets, and Necromancer minions don't count towards that limit. It's just actual players. They're going to be avoid adding any kind of kill-death ratio whatsoever, because they don't want to encourage that kind of play to make you alter the way you're playing the game because you want to raise your kill-death ratio. Gates and doors have a lot of HP. He won't tell us how much HP a gate or door or wall has, but if you reinforce it, you don't actually raise the HP of one of those. You actually just increase the defense. He makes a little anecdote about how he loves playing World vs. World with his ArenaNet tag on, because he uses that as a decoy to run out around and people will just attack him because he says ArenaNet on his name, and then he'll draw people away from whatever his server wall or something like that. And then the last little bit he has about dropping siege blueprints for other people to pick up was meant to be put in the game. They wanted to add a way to have you be able to trade them to other players. As everybody knows, they're all soulbound currently. But it's not top priority. They do want to address it to make them tradable, but they're not working on that right now. They're focusing on other things. Oh, and there will be future updates to the commander icon. But again, that's one of the things that's not even on anybody's radar right now. But look for that at some point in the future. Last little bit. Fans of Tales of Tyria, Bridger is back. They did the podcast Tales of Tyria, just Bridger and Freelancer last Sunday. They're back on their every other week schedule, so not this coming Sunday, but the following. They just did an episode where they kind of recapped everything. It was their 60th episode. They're actually talking about Freelancer, Bridger, and some of the other hosts that have been on there, Edwin, Great, Kaysee, doing a general gaming podcast separate from Tales of Tyria. But they are looking for additional hosts for Tales of Tyria because everybody else is kind of busy. So Bridger, Freelancer, and they're currently taking interviews and applications for additional 2 co-hosts. If you you think that's your thing, or you want to send them any kind of information, they can be reached at feedback@talesoftyria.com. I can't hear Kaysee.
And lastly, on to CoT news. I think I'm just going to leave my microphone on. Everyone can just hear me kerfuffling around. Lastly, on to CoT news. It's been very quiet on the CoT front lately, but there will be a new post to Azalea's story coming out later today or your guys tomorrow.
All right. Well, that's it from us here at CoT Weekly for this week.
Yay.
So yeah, that's it. And now we'll welcome Naveen and Alucardalina, who've been sitting quietly on mute on purpose, not like Kaysee, who's on mute just because she forgets that she's on mute.
Yeah. But welcome, guys.
Hi.
No, I'm not high. I'm just me. Hi! What's up, people? Naveen in the house. Okay, that's enough.
So, again, thanks for everybody. We actually have a pretty full-looking chat for those of you listening or watching here on Twitch TV. Thank you for coming out. I saw we jumped up at least 4 subscribers, so we're at 190 subscribers on YouTube. 10 more, and you get to see Naveen and Dint singing. It's gonna be a great time. So there's
Not
that.
see, hear, right? Did
It was video.
What? There's video?
I mean, it's not right if you're singing the Circle of Life and you don't have you going like this while you're singing.
Oh my gosh, does that mean did you put the Predator bit in?
Oh no! People just unsubscribe from YouTube. This kill me. I'm gonna die.
I'm gonna get my friends to subscribe now. Not even ones that know about Guild Wars. Just somebody.
I was trying
subscribe.
to get an average to make up fake accounts to just keep subscribing.
Oh god.
Just
And I thought it was the B3. Anyways.
Before I jump into the little bit of things I want to say, Dint, I want to say finally you come out and watch us on Twitch TV.
I miss you.
I just wanted to say, do you remember the first the Halloween podcast, the first video one we ever did? It was me, Naveen, you, and Kaysee. After we finished recording, you guys started getting crazy and singing and whatever else, and I recorded all of it. So, anyway, that's coming out when we hit 200 subscribers on YouTube. So, thank you for anybody that's watched us, liked us on Facebook, followed us on Twitter, any of that stuff. Tell a friend or 8, please, and subscribe as well. So again, welcome back, Alucardalina. I think this is the third time.
I think so too. Thank you.
It's the third time, but it's the first time that we see her.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's true. True.
my lovely facade.
So, I guess we'll start out with shoutouts for this week. I only really have one, and I posted it. It's in the show notes, which will be linked in the YouTube description. But I'm going to post it in the chat for everybody that's here watching that missed the show notes. Essentially, if I don't know if you guys saw on Facebook a while back, I posted Billie Jean done with bells in Guild Wars. Well, this is Stay Alive, the Portal song, done with the bells. So, this one I feel is even epicer.
A lot more effort's been put into
Epicer.
that.
Epic.
Yeah, epicer. That's a thing. Count it.
Oxford Dictionary, are you listening?
So Kaysee, how about you? Shoutouts?
Yeah, I've got 3 today. First one goes to Lovegood because he's been putting a lot of, I don't know how you say, but he's being a really good guildie. He's taking a lot of people on their first trips through dungeons and teaching them the way through. I know particularly myself and Reaper have learned a lot about different dungeons through Lovegood, so thank you Lovegood for putting effort, taking us even though us guildies are new and teaching us new things, and it's really good. I like that sort of community because he often invites us even with his other guilds, and that's quite a good feeling to be welcomed on, so thank you very much for that. Second one is Jal and Joel, but Jal is doing his play tonight, so I just thought I'd give him a shout out and say good luck with your play, and make sure you listen to this afterwards. Being away doesn't mean you get off, you must listen to this afterwards. And the last one is, these are very personal shout outs. The last one is thank you Ted. Thank you so much for all my candy from America. I know, one of the conversations I constantly have with my guildies is oh, do you have this in Australia? And I'm like, no, what's that? And I constantly feel like I'm being left out. So now I just brought a few. I've got the Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. I love them. Thank you very much. A Twinkie. I tasted my first Twinkie. Thank you. And I had a s'more. And I had a Twizzler, which I'm going to eat right now. So thank you very much, Ted. But yeah, that was my shout out. Thank you.
Naveen, how about you?
I have 3 shout-outs this week. The first shout-out goes to Bob Loblaw, who PM'd me in game. He's actually from the guild Tempest Nox, which is a Tyria After Dark's guild. We're probably gonna do some dungeons with you and with other people from Tempest Knox. So hey Bob. Um, the second shout out goes to Cool Cooties, and that's not I see Lagwyn laugh. It's not an in-game name. It's actually from Reddit because that person started a thread saying mentioning us, so the COT podcast crew, like, the how we do the lore shows and stuff, and he thought it was very cool. So thank you very much for mentioning that on Reddit. Third and last shout out goes to Rin Ames from the guild Daedalus Horde. I'm probably not saying that right. Hashtag, no, not hashtag, but tag DAH for the guild. Kaysee, you probably don't remember the name, but it's the person who showed us, the bugged move where you cast a spell and you're just like, you hover in the air and just go like that. And he was like, I usually bribe people into, for if you want to know how to do that. So I'm like, so how about a shout out on the podcast, internet fame? And then he said no, but he eventually showed us. So that's cool.
There's endless amount of fun having with that glitch.
Yeah, we stayed in Lights Arch for like 20 minutes just doing that. That was fun. So yeah, those are my shout outs.
All right. How about you, Alucardalina?
I guess my only shout out is to like everybody, but I'm doing a panel for MomoCon. It's about Guild Wars lore and locations, and I'd like for anybody in the Georgia area to please attend.
Yay!
All right. I wish I could.
Yeah, me
come
too.
up this way. Or I need to get on organizing that Tyria con. Like for realsies, though.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk after this. We'll have to fly Kaysee in here, start saving now.
Oh, Jesus.
And Naveen, unless you want to drive down. You guys could road trip. You and Aaron and Aiden.
Hell no.
Road trip.
Well, if it's in New York, I don't mind. That's not too
Well,
bad.
yes, I was thinking New York, Connecticut. If we put it in Connecticut, then we can get Bridger to come. And Freelancer. If you want them there.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And that
Why
makes
not?
it closer to main airport, so maybe we can get Wooden Potatoes. I mean, he disappeared from the face of the earth, though, so who knows about him.
He's busy.
He's put out an ad for what's it called? Illustrators or people who can draw pictures.
Again?
For his new lore series is what he said.
Oh, maybe he should finish the old lore series first.
I wonder if maybe someone from his old lore series quit and he hasn't been able to continue because that person was like, man.
Yeah. Bummer.
Alright, so let's get on to our main topic today. We're going cleverly named by Naveen many, many months ago. 5 races, 5 cities. It was a good name. I like it, so we stuck with it.
Thanks.
And Kaysee, I switched. I don't know if you saw more recently. You were supposed to go back to back, and I figured we'd give you more of a break.
You're too kind.
Yeah. So you're gonna start with Radasum. So
okay, let me get my notes. So we're gonna start with Radasum, but I feel like Radasum. I feel like Radasum is like the one with. It has a good story, but it's got not very much information. And I could walk around the Grove, which is the other one I'm doing, and people would tell me about the history of Grove. I walked around Radasum, and everyone was like, "Oh, my lab is the best lab ever. My advancements are good," and like they just talk about themselves. So Radasum was a little hard to get a lot of information on, but I shall persevere and give you some very good lore. So over 250 years ago, the Azuru were driven from their home in the depths of Tyria by the Great Destroyer, a champion of the still dormant dragon Primordus, who's probably not dimordant, is probably not dormant anymore. They fled to the surface and stumbled upon the ruins of a long-gone civilization. The Azurians quickly set up base there. And so this is a little description of what Radisum used to be in Guild Wars 1, and this is an in-game description. The hub of Azuran activity on the surface world, Radisum was quickly and magically erected when the race arrived from their native underground homes. Geomystic generators dot the area, providing free power to the town. Some find the atmosphere within the town uncomfortable, saying you can literally feel the energy being sucked from the air. But the Azura vow this enchanted technology is perfectly safe. So that was in Guild Wars 1, and you can actually go to Radisum in Guild Wars 1. And the initial Radisum was... Is it Radisum or Radisum? That's probably something I should have checked out.
I think it's Radisum, but I always say Radisum.
Alright.
I think it's Radisum.
Oh yeah?
I think it's Radisum because I think that's what I've heard Zoja say
Yeah.
in like the little intro video.
But it's not the first time like characters have said names and stuff.
Well, there's that one mission in Ara where there's that guy, the Orion King or whatever it is. He says his name is one way. He tells you his name, and then Traherne says it totally different right afterwards.
It's true.
And I'm like,
Island.
yeah.
There you go.
See, I knew. Keep her around. She's great. But yeah, he's like, here is like, my name is John, and he's like, oh, hi Kaysee, great to meet you. Like, Traherne, get your shit together.
Oh, okay, I'll continue going. Radisum. I'm gonna go with Radisum. And it goes, initially the Radisum was far from impressive, but over 250 years the Azura established a monolithic suspended city which has been described as a geological masterpiece based on modern Azuran architecture. And I'm pretty sure the geological masterpiece was actually the guy who said it was the Azurans who made it themselves. While the Azura have tried to tame the wilds of the Tarnished coast, one look at the gigantic tree roots that entwine the city show that they are fighting a losing battle. The city feels like if the Azura turn their back for a moment, the Tarnished coast will reclaim the land. And yeah, because I find that it was a very good detail that they added a lot of nature into the city. Like, it's quite easy for it to be something like a very cold and how would you say, like a technical city with no flowers, but you can see the Tarnished coast is interwoven itself into a lot of the city. And I'm going to...
It's a suburban feel.
Not
quite the city, but not quite the countryside.
Yeah, because like you see lots of plants around the place, and like some of them are fake Azuran plants, which are the lights, but then you see real plants like crawling up the side of the cube and all that. So the next bit I'm going to read from this book, because it has a really good lore about the city, which I can't find anywhere else. So I'll...
And for those who are listening on the podcast, this book is...
Yeah.
It's basically the game guide?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Strategy guide, yeah.
Yeah, sorry to all the people.
Guide. Thank you.
All the people who are going to be listening on iTunes, I'm very sorry. Oops. Yeah, so I'm going to read from the game guide, and on page 435 if people would like to follow along. So basically I'm going to start halfway down the page. Radisum is both the capital of the Azuran race and one of their biggest achievements. Built as a floating cube suspended over an Azuran-made mountain, which itself was created over an inland river, this city stands as a marvel of arcane construction and power. Radisum is divided into 5 primary floors, which are separated by order of importance to the city. The 2 top floors are dedicated to the ideals of the Azura. The highest pinnacle holds the council chamber of Azuran government, while the public top floor has passages to great laboratories through the Azuran gates to the world beyond. The middle levels hold crafting and manufacturing stations. It is here that the Azuran masterworks go to learn and perfect new techniques. The bottom 2 levels are centered more on the daily life of the city. The bottom level is home to novice, apprentice, researchers, and other auxiliary staff that don't belong to a lab yet. It is also a recruiting place for the peacemakers and others. The lowest floor is the substrata. The lowest floor, the substrata, is the foundation of the city. It holds individual laboratories and residence for the populace, but is not considered a prestigious location by most. So I thought that was really interesting, that I didn't realize that it was divided by levels of importance, and the very top cube is the Arcane Council, which you can actually go and visit. Yeah, so that's pretty much all the lore I could find on the city. Basically, it has a very short history that the Azura built it up. It came from when they came to it was built over some ruins, and it's when they came to the surface. And some interesting trivia about the city is, like, I like how, because it's a Azuran city, there's lots of Azuran gates, like just leading anywhere and everywhere, which I find very confusing, because I'm like, I need to get to that person over there. I head north, but the gate is south, that sort of thing. You can visit Snaf's Memorial Lab, which belongs to Zoja's crew, which is the characters of The Edge of Destiny. And an interesting fact, which I thought was like, I don't think it means anything, but it's interesting. Radasum is an anagram of Masat.
Yeah, we said that in one of the
Last time Alucardalina was here.
Yes.
When we talked about the Masat.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
well, there you go.
Yeah.
Odd.
So yeah, that is Radasum.
Thank you, Kaysee.
All right.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Kaysee. To clear up for Zenchu in the chat, these are actually Razer headphones, not Turtle Beach.
I have Turtle Beach, I think. No, I don't.
Oh, they're Sennheiser. But anyway, that's for another. When we're really running out of ideas, we can talk all about the gear that, even though we've done it before, we can do it again. And we'll call it like the gear show. We'll take the camera around and like look at stuff. So mine, I have Divinity's Reach, which I feel it was kind of a cop-out, because we were possibly going to do this podcast, and we ended up canceling that episode, and I was going crazy trying to help restore everybody's power after Sandy hit. Or Superstorm Sandy, for those of you in America, and maybe I think you guys got some of it up in Canada, but it basically decimated the East Coast, the northeastern coast. So I was like, guys, I don't have time to research. I'm just doing this. So they're like, oh, you can have Divinity's Reach, and I got to keep it. So, yeah. But I mean, what are we gonna say about Divinity's Reach that most people don't know already? I mean, I think it's probably the city a lot, aside from Lion's Arch, that most people are familiar with, because we had it in all the betas. I mean, we also had the Black Citadel, we had Holbrecht, but I feel like Divinity's Reach is probably one of the more populated, even to this day. It's full of role players everywhere.
Yeah.
But for those of you who don't know, which living under a rock, I guess, Divinity's Reach is the capital city of the humans in Guild Wars 2. I have a little bit, as Kaysee from our strategy guide here. I'm going to read a passage from when the people of Tyria respond to the new threat. I'll read the Divinity's Reach passage. That's page 31, for those of you who like to follow along. Soon after the awakening of Zaitan, Lion's Arch and much of the human lands were flooded. Torn by warfare and desperate for civilization, the survivors of many engagements ended up in the Crichton province of Shaymore. There they founded Divinity's Reach, a city that would be home to the refugees from all the human civilizations. Everyone could have a chance to start again. Currently, Divinity's Reach is ruled by the young Queen Jenna, a direct descendant of Queen Salma, and significantly further back, King Doric. She's supported by the senators of the city and her loyal Seraph, headed by Commander Logan Thackeray, a former member of Destiny's Edge. The city has its work cut out for it. They face problems of internal corruption and hostile attacks by bandits and centaur, and there is still the overwhelming threat of the Elder Dragons. Now, I'm going to also skip ahead, because I didn't even think to look this far ahead in the book till Kaysee literally just said it now. So, why don't we all flip ahead to page 360 in the strategy guide. We can follow along as I try to figure out if there's anything useful in here as well.
Wish I had mine on me now.
I'm just looking to see. I mean, it basically, for those of you who don't know the strategy guide, this is going to go over all the waypoints and tell you where everything that's all around it. Honestly, because I forgot about this, I probably would have flipped ahead and read more of this, because there is interesting things like the Asen waypoint, which is one I just happened to stumble across, which is named after the Asa family, which were Alonian refugees. For those of you who played Nightfall would know Varesh Asa was the villain. I mean, aside from Abaddon, in Nightfall, and Tyria Asa, her ancestor, helped bring the Alonians up through the Crystal Desert. Again, another day. Or maybe we covered that in the past and I wasn't paying attention. Anyway. Oh, also, I think I have an electronic copy of this kicking around somewhere, because they gave me one when I bought it. So, we might give that away at some point for some sort of giveaway. So, there you go. Internets. Right. So, sorry. I'm all over the place. Back to Divinity's Reach. Yeah, there was nothing that clearly jumped out like Kaysee had. But there are a few symbols that demonstrate the diversity and unity within humanity better than the capital of Divinity's Reach. 6 high roads, each dedicated to one of the true gods, divide the lower city into districts. Each of the districts has its own atmosphere and ambience, reflecting the various refugees who settled there. And yet, despite their cultural differences, philosophies, and spiritual leanings, the people of Divinity's Reach are all part of the same whole, just like the wheel of the city. Thank you, ArenaNet, for the epic description of Reach. So, yeah, there's not a whole lot of lore to the city, other than, like I mentioned before, Lion's Arch was flooded, everything was a wreck. We already lost Ascalon to the Char, we lost Ore forever ago. So, we gotta find a place to go. Well, Divinity's Coast looks good, but the Shaymore place isn't bad. Let's build a gigantic city, and we don't really have a time frame on how long it took them to build it, but I would imagine a long time, because it's a pretty massive city. So it's ruled, like I said, by a royal family. The center part of the spoke, it's like a wheel with the spokes. The center part is ruled by the royal family. That's the, I have that called here. Central Palace. That's where, you have the Seraph Guard headquarters. There's like a place to worship all the gods. That's where Queen Jenna sits. And there's also the Ministry, and they also kind of help rule. And they have another area in Divinity's Reach, which is, I think, in the southern-ish corner? The western corner? I forget. Anybody?
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
That's okay. It's actually in the northern part. So, there you go.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm paying attention. I was just trying to debate that Logan was cool, but it's cool.
Anyway. So, it's not as kind of magic-y as Radasum. It's more, brick and mortar, classic human architecture. We had this conversation right before the podcast. It's creepy as hell. It's built on top of a giant tomb. A tomb where the walls are lined with human bones. And they store an Asura there. Well, they did. I mean, he's still there. You read Ghost of Ascalon.
They store it like in a jar or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
You don't know. He's an Asura. He could be just like they ground him up and burn him up into ashes, and then he somehow flew into some magical Asura dust, and he haunts there as a spirit or something. I don't know. I didn't write the lore, but yeah, essentially, it's a big crypt underground in a tomb where Blim is buried, I guess. I don't know. Stored.
Well, if you own Ghost of Ascalon, you can, visit it, I guess, with Dogo King.
Yeah, so I would hope we have this conversation. Right now it's blocked by the Skull Gate, and you can't get in there without the proper paperwork, which obviously means we can't get in there until ArenaNet gives us the proper paperwork. We can't pull a dual key and sneak in there. But that would be cool if it was like its own dungeon, or at least just an area we got to visit, even for like a Halloween, maybe. That would be kind of cool. Just at some point, maybe for April Fool's Day, if we go back in time, we can go in there. Maybe we can help Dual Keen. How cool would that be?
Ah, yes. I would help him do anything.
Oh my, Naveen.
If that place becomes a dungeon, before the podcast, we were talking about that, and it'd be interesting to see if Gaida would be there, or Gaida, right? Gyda.
Yeah.
She's a Norn, basic.
Mm.
Yeah.
Last name. It's Gullick's cousin? Cousin,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. And spoiler alert, but she dies in the dungeon. And yeah, it'd be very cool to see if like she could be the end boss of that dungeon. She's all like risen.
Well, what's interesting is we have all these Ascalonian ghosts of the humans, but we don't really have ghosts of any other species. I mean, the Ascalonian ghosts make sense because of the faux fire, but would we have like a Norn ghost? Be kind of cool. Different.
Yeah.
But ghosts are part of the afterlife, aren't they? Like they're connected somehow to Grenth and his mystical ways.
Well, I mean, spirits. I guess spirits of the wild. I don't know how that works. I don't know.
Yeah.
Spirits of the wild. How do they work? But I love Divinity's Reach. It's great. You got people from all over Tyria. You've got Canthans, Elonians, people that even claim to be of Orient descent. But I'm like, do you really know that? Or are you just saying that? Like, because all your people are dead. Monsieur Kilbon killed your family. They're dead. Like, unless like there was like one guy who was like on a boat and just got like pushed away when they sunk, or I don't know. But people say they're from there, so that's cool. Good for you. Don't go home. You don't want to go back there. Not a good place to go. They have like I said, it's like a spoke, wheels and spokes. There's 6 districts. 1 Ascalonian, 1 Elonian, 1 Crichton, the central palace in the middle, and the other 2 are kind of where they have like shops and festivities and things. You have that what's this? Minister Uzalon? Lord Uzalon? Whatever. He has that big orchestra, the one-man band thing. And like I think it's in the northern part of East Divinity's Reach. And actually, one of the things that ArenaNet originally said were you supposed to be able to go there and change the songs that it plays. But that never happened. Maybe we'll get that in January. I hope they don't try to like pass that. February is supposed to be World versus World. January is the big. Is it one of the big updates? So we might the 28th. That's when we're getting guesting. So I'm assuming the rest of the stuff's going to come on the 28th. So we can talk about that more after we get through this piece.
Don't assume with the internet. Just like assume it's going to be the last day of January, like the last hour before it turns over to February.
I actually have some information about that from the videos from earlier today. But anyway, I mean, Divinity's Reach. If you, for whatever strange reason, have never been there, go there. It's great. You can hear a lot of interesting things people talking about. They talk about Cantha and Alona and how trade has stopped. You can see all the books that reference all the characters from Guild Wars 1, like Koss's book, Koss on Koss, and Ghosts of Ascalon, written by Dual Keen.
Koss on Koss. Mental images! Gone wrong.
You can see the only cape I've ever seen in Guild Wars on a character. There's a Char with a cape, and his tail comes at the bottom. Yeah, it's like a tattered, beat-up, just black cape, and he's just like in one part of, I think it's in the southern part of Divinity's Reach, like on the outer circle on the bottom. He's just walking. He has no dialogue or anything. He's just there. So that makes
him up and take his cape.
Exactly, right? We can draw with crayon, Chronicles of Tyria on the side. Wear it. But yeah, there's a shooting range that you could never go to. Hopefully in January that'll be one of the activities we can experience. I hope they don't try to pass off the orchestra as one, because that's not really an activity if you just change the music. There's Hayden's Menagerie, the cool like zoo thing that's there that serves really no purpose. And it has that one cage that's got the blankets over it, and it's like chains everywhere and a big padlock, so we don't know what's in that.
You can peer under it as a glitch. There's nothing in there. I think he
Yeah,
just does
well.
it for the views.
Okay. Hey, it works. He'll get people there to come visit his menagerie.
Yeah, I went there. I'm like, ooh, what's this? And I like spent ages trying to peer up.
Yeah, I think I found that on after playing Guild Wars for all the betas, and I discovered it. I don't know, doing map completion. Like after weeks into the game, I'm like, oh, what's this place? And I thought it was the coolest thing. I don't know. The only other big main feature that jumps out to me that I really like about Divinity's Reach is the kind of cosmos thing where you go in the main central area and you look up and you have all the planets and everything spinning all around. Yeah, Alucardalina is excited about that.
I love space. And it's so like our own system.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know. I mean, you guys have all played Divinity's Reach a ton. Anything else? Favorite parts that jump out to you guys?
You covered
There's
mine.
there's no people that talk about faces like raisins in there, so it's probably nothing for Naveen. I mean, there is a
Well,
town there's an area called Rurikton.
I was
So-
gonna say that. Of course, they had to implement Roic in Guild Wars 2, or else Guild Wars 2 wouldn't have been completed. But the Great Collapse in the beta, there was a place where you could actually jump through and then land on the water. And when you'd swim to the bottom of it, it was sort of like small pieces of monuments that were in the water, but there was nothing in the bottom of it. Just
Okay.
very deep and
I find it a little grotesque that for one of the vistas you have to jump on people's graves.
Yeah. And actually, I saw a piece of trivia about one of the gravestones, and it said something there you can find writing in New Crichton that says, "Where's my resurrection portal?"
yeah.
Like there was in Guild Wars 1. So I thought that was pretty neat. Oh, and the only other thing I guess was important is there's the a surrogate to Ebonhawk. So you can head direct to Ebonhawk from Divinity's Reach. It's a level 30 zone. For those of you that don't know, you can get there by running through the Char areas or going to Divinity's Reach and heading straight there. If you check back to our our Destiny's Edge podcast where we talk about the end of that, Ebonhawk's pretty important and the fights that go on there, so I would recommend you check that out. A little self-plugging there. But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it for Divinity's Reach.
Thank you, Lagwyn.
Alright, Naveen, Holbrecht, Land of the Norn.
Holbrecht, Land of the Norn, which I knew nothing before doing the podcast because I had zero interest. Everyone was picking their cities and no one was picking Holbrecht, and it's okay, who's gonna take Holbrecht? Guess I'm gonna grab it.
Naveen, you're such a mum. It's all the kids choose their favourite one, and then dad chooses mum, and mum just goes, oh, I'll just have what's left,
Yeah, exactly. I feel kind of bad though because after doing some research on it, it's a really beautiful place, and there's tons of lore in there, and the only thing that sucks really in Holbrecht is heirs to Galkin.
Just existing?
Yeah. She's there.
She's there.
What's wrong with air?
I just don't like her attitude to through the story mode. She's just so whiny and she's anyways.
And this whole thing, she's my story's over. I'm woman, what is do you have a self-confidence problem?
If I may, I read this in the making of Guild Wars 2 book that you get with the collector's edition, and it made me laugh because it's about just what you're talking about, how she's all mopey and sad. Heirs to Galkin, this is the iconic character section. The Norn iconic character is one of the older members of Destiny's Edge. She suffers from tremendous grief as it was her plan that didn't work. It was this regret that led to numerous rewrites. Jeff Grubb explained, Air can't be too tragic because players won't want her as a mentor. Failed there, buddy. In early drafts, she was too much like Eeyore. She was even unlikely to the writers. They had to give her a win every so often.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay, that's pretty bad.
So, yeah, they had to give her a win every now and then because nobody liked her, even the writers writing her story.
Man,
Wow.
feel sorry for Air.
Yeah.
There
Feel
you go.
sorry for the
Anyway,
dog.
See,
continue.
now you pity her.
Yeah. I don't know which is worse.
Sometimes.
Dislike or pity?
Oh.
Oh. So anyways, Holbrook. The translation from Old Norse of Holbrook is roughly cavern of noise. And I don't know what that means. Because Holbrook...
There's a lot of North, they drink a lot, they party a lot,
Oh, there you
bunch
go.
of noise.
Thank you for...
Lore master, right here. I should be number 3. Like that little, get a little spot between Jeffy and Ree. My right hand.
Jeffy and... Hey, Jeffrey! Yeah, so Holbrook, it wasn't there in Guild Wars 1. The major cities in Guild Wars 1 were in the far Shiver Peaks, but when Jormag awoke and drove the Norns to the south, they lost all of their settlements, so they had to rebuild. Holbrook was originally the hunting lodge of Asgeir when he led his people south, and for those who don't know who Asgeir is, he basically is a Norn hero who lived during the rise of Jormag. The spirits of the wild helped him fight the dragon, and he took a tooth from Jormag's maw. You can actually see it in game. It's the fang of the serpent in the Great Lodge. One thing you should know about Asgeir is that it is said that he had a power scroll with him, and the Durban Priory are currently searching for it. So that tells me that this scroll will see in maybe an expansion or, you know, a new plot in the story. Ooh. So it's definitely a future expansion plot to look out for. Also, Asgeir was the grandfather of Nut Whitebear, who is the current owner of Holbrook. He has a status in the city that a statue in the city that reads Asgeir Dragonrender, Battlemaster, favored of the spirits of the wild, builder of Holbrook. May his legend live forever. So, you've got 5 huge structures in Holbrook who dominate the city. They each represent a spirit of the wild, for the exception of the Great Lodge, which holds the Tooth of Jormag. So you've got Raven to the north, northeast is bear, northwest is snow leopard, and southeast is wolf. The Great Lodge and the Tooth are located in the southwest region of the map. The Norn go to these lodges to seek wisdom and commune with the spirits. And often you'll hear them, I pray to the spirits of the wild, but they rarely answer. In every city they say that.
I wonder how much I can pay. I mean, I'm ready to go kill Jormag so the spirits of the wild can answer so they can shut up. Because I don't want to hear about how they don't answer anymore. I will make it happen for you, Norn, if you will just stop. You heard it here first. You have my hammer.
Also, in the chat room, Dan says, new tea. Hey, it's not White Bear. Yeah, I said nut, but it's new tea, apparently. Sorry.
It's not.
It's nut? It's not.
It's not.
Nut? What?
I think it's actually Newt. Because I think that's what Air. It's Air, you know. You don't trust her. Newt Whitebear says, and I'm not exaggerating because that's what she sounds like. Yes. It was being mentioned in the chat, but I'd like to point out that in the book, she is a lot more badass. And I feel like that's because you don't have to hear her talk. Because in the book, you can make up her voice. And she doesn't sound like a weird man and a little crybaby.
But then again, most Norn most female Norns sound like a
And I
weird
have a
man.
problem with my female Norn character. Like, I can't. The voice is like nails on a chalkboard. I want to listen to my
So
personal
mannish.
story, but I
Yeah.
can't take it. Give me like a little bit, like just turn the volume up, just like a pitch, a little bit, so it sounds a little bit more girly. Not like I can't tell. Like if I'm just not looking, I'm like, is it a female talking or a male? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's one of the main things that people brought up after the first public beta weekend was the Norn female's voice, and that was like a legit concern, and they didn't change it, so I guess it's exactly how they wanted it.
All right.
That or they didn't want to like tell the voice actor that she sounded like a man.
Awkward.
So I'm sorry, voice actors, but
That's too bad, though.
Imagine that conversation. Like, yeah, we don't need you anymore. We're gonna get a different one. Like, what? Why? What's wrong with it? Like, we've just had a few complaints. Your character sounds a bit like a man. The voice that you're putting on. She's like, but I didn't put on a voice. Oh, hang on. But I didn't put on a voice.
I'm so sorry for that woman.
Yeah, I'm sorry too. I would like to point out that Tully said they're going to pull that line because Norn don't pray.
But they have shrines, and what else do you do at shrines?
They commune.
Pray. Yeah, they commune. I commune with the spirits of the wild, but they rarely answer. I think that's
Maybe
like
that's
channel
their
spirits of the wild. Yeah, maybe that is why.
No, because
Anyway, sorry, Naveen.
commune
why are you
with us.
praying to me?
Yeah.
Well, but whatever. I'm
me.
sorry regardless.
It's okay. Yeah, back to Holbrook. Where was I? Oh yeah. Okay,
Sure.
so as far as NPCs go, speaking of air, you can find her in Stonewright Steading. It's her home, and it's in Frost Basin. It's outside of her home are statues carved by herself, because if you read the books, mostly like Edge of Destiny, you learn that she's a sculptor, and even if you don't read that, you can find in game that she is a sculptor. She carved, okay, and I'm probably gonna mispronounce those, but Garta White Bear, there's Jorah, Snaff, and Brothender Half Mad. Garta White Bear is, okay, Nut, or Gnooty, or that dude, White Bear's wife. And she's currently traveling through the Shiver Peaks, so she's still alive. Jorah is a Guild Wars 1 hero. She fought the Great Destroyer with, your character as you were playing Guild Wars 1, and she also killed Svanir, who, spoiler alert, was her brother, and she killed him at the end. He was turned into the Nornbear and Jormag's champion. Snaff is an Asura in Destiny's Edge. See our podcast about Edge of Destiny. Brothender Half-Mad. Right under his statue, it's written, inventor of Bear's Brown Ale. In his own words, brews 1 through 94 were poison, but 95, by Bear, that was a winner. Noticeable. A noticeable place in Holbrook is Lake Morn, and it was a glacier. Is that how you say glacier? Yeah? Okay. Until I hate these names. Come on. Hrothbeer.
I liked it. That was great. Sounds like a
Smashed
dwarf.
it. No, it sounded like a dwarf. Awesome. Smashed at it for days on end to prevent it from crashing on Olbrek. So he was actually a hero who saved Olbrek. In Hobart, you can also find a cool game, which is the Keg Brawl, which is actually the first mini game that they implemented in Guild Wars 2. If you've never played the Keg Brawl, I highly recommend it because I hate PvP. Okay, I'm gonna throw it out there. I participate in the guild's events and stuff, but I hate it. I can't stand playing against real people. That's not my thing. But Keg Brawl, even though it's against real people, it's super fun. You could actually compare it to, let's say, rugby, except with huge kegs. And yeah, you can get achievements, point achievements for that, for just for playing that game. Um, Also in that town, there's a Jotun called Thruln. Thruln. Okay, Thruln. Spell
T-Dog. T-Dog.
T-Dog the Lost. Okay. And he's a storyteller, and he is gonna tell you about many things, and you'll start conversation with him, and he's gonna tell you about the gods, the arrival of the humans, etc. So it's a really good character to look out for in Holbrecht if you're really into lore. Um, One thing I noticed in Holbrecht, and it's basically the same in every city except for like two NPCs throughout the world. Every old people you meet look young. They have an old voice. They have a very young face. So it's like, oh, no, wait,
Master
that sounded
Togo?
like,
Brother
yeah,
Menlo?
that sounded like Master Togo. Oh, brother Menlo. But basically, like, they have an old voice. It's really annoying to see, like, a very young face with an old voice, and like, the title says old person. Like, it's stupid.
Maybe they just age
Um,
really well.
Pardon me?
Maybe they just age really well.
Yeah. Hey, I want to live in Tyria.
Well, isn't the thing like they don't want to die old, they want to die like a war hero? So like I reckon once they get to the point where they're like getting on a little bit, they'll be like, alright, I'm gonna go out and die and kill something, something impossible to kill, I'm gonna die that way now. So maybe that's why
Yeah.
like a 30-year-old person is an old man or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Oh, I'm 35. Maybe I should change my voice.
All those
Certain
battle
skin cream.
screams.
Um, as you walk through Holbright, there's a lot of paintings. You'll find a lot of artsy stuff, like sculptures and paintings, and it's all with the art from the official designers at ArenaNet. So, like all the wallpaper that you can find on guildwars2.com, basically you can find them as frames in Holbrook. Um, there's one conversation that I had with an NPC in Holbrook that made me laugh. She's a little girl, well, little as a Norn girl can be. She's almost as tall as my human female. Uh, her name is Agneta, and she tells you about heirs to Galkin. And for some reason, I don't know why people like her, but anyways, you you ask her, who's heir? And she says she's in the Destiny's Edge Guild and she's killed 1,000 bazillion beasts. I can't believe you don't know her. Her legend is well known. Are you sure you're a hero? So, with that, you get two options. Either choose ferocity and say, bah, begone, or I'll show you what scary really is. Or charisma. I heard air drinks the blood of little girls. That's where she gets her superpower. And okay, arena writers, that's creepy. Drinking the of little girls? I'm not sure about that. Anyways, and when you choose one of them, she's like, when I'm bigger, I'll make you eat your words, dragon liquor. And then she starts running and she's like, Daddy, Daddy, that bully is being mean. And then so I followed her because I was like, oh, this is gonna evolve into something cool. So I run after her, but all she does is like stop under a tent and she starts crying. And then she just stands there. Like,
Maybe she doesn't have a father.
yeah. That's sad, Kaysee.
Yeah.
Now
what
you're
a jerk.
sad.
Now I'm sad. Yeah. But basically, you'll find a lot of history in Holbrook and a lot of conversation like this with um, NPCs that you can find throughout Holbrook. There's a lot of them. It's really funny. Like, I really wasn't going, looking forward into doing this piece on Holbrook because I dislike Aristogalkian. Holbrook, not my thing. I don't really like playing gnomes. But when I went there and did my little research, it's filled with lore. It's filled with super interesting stuff, and I really recommend that even if you're not playing a Norn, just go to Holbrook and talk to NPCs, especially those who have names and not just little girl or wolf, whatever. I don't know, wolf bear, wolf something. Anyways,
Wolfborn?
Wolf.
Wolfborn. Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Look for names, and they'll definitely have a story for you. Um, Also, there's one in particular that you should check out. His name is Holgi or Holgi. I'm not sure which is which. The Apprentice Storyteller, and he's an NPC located southeast in Old Fyax Lorestead, and he's gonna talk to you about the lore of certain heroes and the history of Holbrook. So, really recommend going there. It's super interesting. And this was my piece on Holbrook. Daddy,
Thank you.
Daddy, this bully is being mean.
Thank you very much for that information,
You're welcome.
Naveen. I don't know if I might go make fun of that little girl now. 'Cause that sounds like a funny time. It would be nice if it evolved into something funnier, like a skill point challenge or something.
Oh yeah,
We
definitely.
have to fight her dad.
Yeah.
Oh,
Turns
so-
out he's this really short Norn.
Yeah, right.
Was bullied all his life. Oh no.
And he is the Norn with the girl voice. The female voice.
There's so much repressed rage in that one.
I know, right? So, Kaysee, you have the Grove.
Yes.
Big tree.
Yes. No, I just wanted to quickly mention, because Naveen talking about that reminded me of something. So basically in
Zoom.
in Radisum, there
Or
was,
Scott.
at the lowest level, I think there's a prison. I think it's the lowest level. But there's a prison there with the peacemakers, and there's some really funny things inside the prison. Like the Azura are definitely the funniest race, but the prison is my favorite. So go and check that out, the prison, because it's worth it. There's some funny things in there, because there's people inside the prison and then little plaques next to them saying why they're in there or what their name is. My favorite one is like there's a chicken in one of them.
Yeah.
You're like, what's wrong with the chicken? You know, what magical thing with the chicken? And the little plaque says, does anyone know who this chicken belongs to? And there's a warden that makes a rounds, and he stops at each cage and has a little bit of dialogue for each one. And he just had some funny things, like one of the there's a Norn in one of them, and it's just named, the name is Talking Bear, and he's in bear form, and he's like, will you let me out, I'm not a bear, and he's like, yeah, good try, Talking Bear, and then he moves on. So there's other ones like that. So but that is all I have for Radisum for now. Oh boy, it's gonna be a long day. So
Yeah.
the Grove. It's my notes. So the Grove is a beautiful and tranquil place in complete harmony with nature. It is the Savari sanctuary where they can grow and learn before they are released into the harsh world. Here, for the first years of their life, they learn from their mentors, thrive in a community, and seek guidance from the avatar of the Pale Tree. The Pale Tree is the site of the Grove and has a long history. So I was like gonna write up my own summary about the Pale Tree, and then I found this story from the Movement of the World, which is a document written by Decimus the historian, and it's only available at the Derman Priory and is currently being challenged and researched and revised by scholars there. So a good thing to remember that this was written by a guy in game, so I think that they've done this kind of thing where he's not entirely he doesn't quite get. Or why are you guys laughing? I feel bad.
No, you're good. Keep going.
I'm not
you're
muted?
phenomenal. You're on point. Keep going. Doing what you're doing.
Okay. So I don't think that I'll read this bit and then I'll read a bit from Ventari himself, and so.
I'm so sorry. Keep going. Please don't ignore us.
I'll read it out, then I'll just keep my head down. This story began with a human soldier named Rowan, who, while separated from his patrol, discovered a cavern filled with strange seed pods. This cavern was protected by a terrible plant creature, so he fled, clinging to a single seed to show his daughter when he returned home from war. But upon his arrival, Rowan discovered the Massat had destroyed his village and murdered his family, leaving only ruined houses and mass graves. In agony, he planted the seed on their graves and swore never to return to battle. Rowan was joined by an aging centaur named Ventari, who had also begun to lose hope in peace. The human and centaur, against all odds, formed a friendship that surpassed the boundary of race. Together they decided to begin their lives anew and create a refuge for human and centaur alike. They built their safe haven near the ocean and the budding tree for all those who sought peace and the shelter of friendship. The pale oak grew under the watchful eye of gentle Ventari, and becoming strong and healthy, and giving the old centaur great joy. Yet with his bliss came sorrow. The centaur tribes of the north and west crushed and driven out by Crichtons fleeing from the flooding coastline, grew more and more savage and brutal. As the tribes joined their war, fewer were willing to listen to Ventari's words, and his new outpost became smaller and smaller. At last, old and grey, Ventari carved his life's lessons upon a marble tablet, which he placed at the base of the pale tree, so that future travellers might read and perhaps learn the way of peace and harmony. Then, many years after his human companions had passed on, Ventari laid down beside the tree that Rowan had planted and died. The year was 1165 AE. The tree, white and sparkling, continued to grow. Over a hundred years later, small cocoons appeared among the branches. These cocoons spun out, shifting and eventually ripping open, birthing a new race of people into the world, fully grown, as if they awakened from some magical dream. They called themselves Safari, and these firstborns were only the beginning of a widespread emergence, all born from the same massive tree. So this is the story of the pale tree, which is like basically, how do you say? Oh, it's over the grove. The grove is beneath the pale tree's limbs, and so it's quite an important part of the grove. But this account was written by someone who was obviously after these events, because if in Guild Wars 1 you can actually visit Ventari's sanctuary and talk to Ventari himself, and you can see the little sapling curling around. It's quite big, but it's still a sapling comparatively. And you ask him, what can you tell me about this tree? And he goes, it is miraculous to believe that all of this began as a seed that Rowan gave me. He is an old acquaintance, one of the soldiers who fought the White Mantle, who slaughtered my people. Those battles cost him his wife and daughter. In his grief he threw down his weapon. Perhaps he was looking for escape or a place to die, to end his suffering. He lay a broken man, and in that moment he found the seed that would become all of this. So Ventari says he found the seed after he found out that his wife and daughter died, whereas Decimus, the historian, says that it was beforehand. So there's a little bit like, I don't know what's going on, Maybe Ventari was getting old and losing some of his brain cells, or maybe Decimus. I mean, he gets old. He's gonna forget things someday. There's probably a day where he left his glasses on his head and he was looking around for them, but he couldn't find them. But anyway,
it's funny. It's centaur with glasses.
Oh no, he had the emo fringe, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was white too.
Yeah.
The grove became the home for all Silvari when the firstborn awoke. They used their talents with plants to shape houses and structures out of the nature. With each new generation of Silvari, more structures were added until the grove is what you see today. There are multiple levels to the tree, or the grove the whole structure. On the lowest level is the gardens of each cycle. In the north is the Garden of Dawn, to the east is the Garden of Noon, to the south is the Garden of Dusk, to the west is the Garden of Night. At the highest level is the Umphalis chamber. I hope I'm saying that right. Where the avatar of the pale tree gives guidance and wisdom to her offspring. The Ventari can be viewed in this chamber. A notable point of interest is the constellation shelter, which is a dorm on the top level and a tavern at the bottom 2 levels, where many travellers from all races stay. And one point trivia was that the grove can be visited during Guild Wars 1, and you can see the pale tree sapling. So there's this big story about how the pale tree started, and then eventually it grew and grew, and then the children came out and it established this city using nature and stuff like that. So, but I like how there's different conflicting accounts as to what happened, whether it was before or after. No one really quite knows.
Interesting. Thank you, Kaysee.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for that. Alucardalina, would you like to do the Black Citadel now?
Yes. Well, the Black Citadel, it started off as Ren and Nolan Academy for the Arcane Arts. Eventually, Ren became the capital after the Char took Drasier, which was the previous capital of Escalon. The humans postponed that takeover of Ren by using Stormcaller, a storm summoning horn, which weakened the Char forces. And Nolani was one of the most advanced schools in Ascalon, with a sister academy in Drasier linked to each other by a portal, the same portal that was used to get part of Stormcaller to Ren to save it. However, the humans didn't get to rest there, and as far as we can see, there are no ghosts residing there, so we can assume that they were all driven out. The Black Citadel was built over it, and you can now find Ren in the southwestern quarter and Nolani in the northwestern quarter. There's still a bunch of buildings in Ren. You can see the main building. I have it up on my site, but you can see the main building there, the one that you go in to fight the Char leader guy in the mission. And then Nolani is pretty much entirely intact still. You can see it's kind of on a hill over one of the mini lakes there. The Black Citadel is used as the headquarters of the Iron Legion, and it is the closest Char capital to the other races. This means that there are more than one Char capitals. It's a bit of a manufacturing plant, and we can see that it has a large forge in the southeastern corner. The forge isn't just for the Iron Legion, though. They take supplies to their allies, and these supplies include things like vehicles and tanks and mechanical and non-mechanical weapons that usually end up on the battlefield, which, the Char are very battle-prone. I actually got my book here, finally. And it pretty much goes over what I've already said, but they called it an almost living machine, the city itself. And they also said that the city was forged by the Iron Legion, and the Char believed that even gods cannot stand against the power of their armies and technology. In the past, that's proven true. So, which is a reference to it being taken over again by them. Because we know that Ascalon was originally Char territory before the humans came. Their machinations, unlike the Asura, they test them before deploying them. And yes, I found that quite funny. because that was specifically mentioned. They're mostly tested in the large battle arena. It's called the Bane, and it's not only used to test out weapons, but it's also for settling arguments. There's also an underwater tank used for underwater battles, and very large devourers used for matches. There are different locations for different ranks in the Black Citadel. The one that we know about is the Imperator Corps, and the Imperators are the leaders of high legions and second highest rank in the Char society. It also houses the Tribunes, which are the people that report directly to the Imperators. This is also the part that has the War Council in it, which is for the highest Imperator. So they all gather there and stay there. Surprisingly, humans and Silvari can also be found living in the city, though they usually only reside in the grotto at the base called the Gladium Canton. So
really?
It's not just Char living there.
Oh, see, I never noticed that.
The humans that live there used to be prisoners of war. So
nothing like getting out of jail and then going, oh, this looks like a nice place to stay.
The streets of the city are watched closely by the Adamant Guard. They're kind of the police who enforce the laws. They have rather pragmatic laws in the city, so it's actually kind of a nice place to be if you're a traveler. It's also a nice place to live if you're Char.
Yeah.
You know, like I said before, they kind of settle their arguments by going to the Bane and just duking it out.
Some fisticuffs.
This is a part I found really interesting that I didn't know before I went to research this, but it is Adamant Guard's responsibility to blow up the bridge leading to the Lion's Arch Siren Gate in case that something unwanted comes through the gate. So the bridge is lined with explosives.
Oh.
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're pretty prepared.
That sounds very Char-like. Like, in an event of, like, any uncertainty, just blow it up.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
Yeah.
The largest scrapyard in Ascalon also sits here. It's called the Junkers Scrapyard. And most of the scraps from the scrapyard are used in the forge that I mentioned earlier. And they will take the scrap and melt it down to make it into new weapons. There's also the Memorial Quadrant, which is dedicated to the fallen Char war heroes and war bands. You can find the Plaza of Remembrance there, which is a large memorial of Char who have fallen in the line of duty. They use only the war band names in order to keep the size of the memorial smaller. So, if you want your name to be remembered, I suggest you leave a big hero thing so you can get a statue on the way in.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of them there.
It's quite big already.
There's well, I know Pyre Fearshot has his own, I think, right? In there?
Yeah.
I believe, yeah. So you gotta be...
Pyre, isn't it outside, though?
His
Maybe
is
it
an
is
actual.
outside.
Yeah.
His is actually
That's
made
right.
of stone, whereas most of them are made of metal.
Made of what?
Metal.
Oh.
We can assume that most of the city is made of iron.
It's the Iron Legion.
I didn't mention this earlier, but you can still find Stormcaller in the city. It's raised up several levels, but it's pretty much in the place it used to be.
Yeah, I saw that the other day, and it looks like it's on a what's it called, on a gear, so like, and a bit of it's been like pulled out of it, but it looks like it's on a gear, so they can just turn the gear and it would be a complete Stormcaller again, but they're kind of like separated a part of it.
It's not long enough to be the entire thing, though. Maybe something went wrong and they couldn't salvage it all, or maybe the Char got angry after losing Ren.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, smash.
Oh man, Char,
But
you
other
silly
than
kitties.
that, it's mostly lore from like before they built the Black Citadel, and I didn't want to get into like too much of things because there's a lot of stuff behind Ren. But I don't know why they chose that as their base, or if we'll get to see any of the other cities or bases, headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
But I found it pretty interesting that their headquarters is not the only one, and it means that there are more Char headquarters out there.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you.
No, after you. No, you. No, you go. No, you want to fight? Fight.
Mr. Pogo.
Brother Menlo. Oh, what's that place called where you meet the Vigil?
The Vigil Keep.
The Vigil Keep. Yeah. I was trying. Wow. Hey, Dirt Woman, brought to you by Naveen. Yeah, I wonder if there would be one there too, considering all more Soul Keepers always there. But that's just speculation.
Yeah, that was my piece. So.
Thank you.
All right. Thank
Thanks.
you, Alucardalina, for your coverage of the Black Citadel. So, we're done with the 5 cities. I just wanted to touch on a few little things. If anybody has anything else they want to talk about any of the cities that anybody else didn't mention, figure we can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I have a question. Where's Logan's house?
He must live with Queen Jenna.
No.
What storyline did you choose?
Why? Do we get to visit his house in this time? Because I might
No,
just
but if you were a peasant, I'm sure you wouldn't find it.
Burn!
me.
Oh, that was awesome.
Good job.
No.
I'm sorry, I had to.
No, that was beautiful.
Not.
Oh, that was almost as funny as sending Naveen a hilarious video in the middle of Kaysee talking.
Why did you do? I thought it was me. I thought it was like, is something sticking out? Like, is my tag showing or something?
No. He sent me voiceovers from factions, and Guild Wars 1 is just ridiculous, so I'll just leave it at that.
Alright, send it to me.
I didn't dare watch it during the podcast because
I was hoping you
laugh like
would
a
have.
hyena.
So we would have had all 3 of us laughing, and Casey's just gonna be like, "What's going on?"
Anyway, aside than that, no, I don't have any questions.
Okay, Kaysee, how about you?
No, I'm good.
Alucardalina?
Yes.
Alright, so I wanted to mention, because I watched both of the live streams today, or rather I listened to them. A lot of interesting information came out of that. So I just, I wrote down what I could, while I could, and a couple of the things, they answered a lot of people's questions. It was really cool. They did a first stream where they answered some generic questions, and then they opened a questions thread on the forums, and people typed questions, and then they printed those out an hour and a half later, and then answered those again after lunch. So, one of the big things is that I took away was they're revamping the dungeons. And get this, anybody who's ever played a dungeon, they want to make more the dungeons, like Ascalonian Catacombs, Ara, more in line with the Fractals of the Mists. So you will not, because they would call it res rushing, where you'd run into a boss, 4 people would die, and one person just kites the boss till everybody reses and runs back, as most of us have done with any of the major bosses in any dungeon. The new rule they're going to instill, they're possibly thinking about, and it sounds like it's going to happen, no resing while one member of the party is in combat.
What?
What?
So, you either all need to die, or play really well and not die at all.
Okay. I know a certain tendencies become clear with ArenaNet recently is that when people whine, they give them something. I think I'm gonna whine about that. I'm usually not a whiner, but come on. Seriously? No.
I wonder who whined about it to get it that way.
Yeah.
Well, I
Thousands
think
of
their
people.
whole thing was they wanted to make it, 1, it's more challenging. 2, they're probably going to tweak the overall encounters and things because they want to make it more like the Fractals of the Mists. Not as difficult as, say, the Fractals of the Mists, but at least kind of on par. And they mentioned, which I liked, they talked about how they wanted to make the bosses more dynamic. Like how the bosses in the Fractals, you'll get them down to a certain point of health or something will happen and the whole mechanic of fighting that boss will change. They said they liked that concept, and that's when Kaysee mentioned at the beginning about revamping boss encounters. That's what they want to try to do. Dynamically change the boss when, the boss's health is low. Now the boss is using some new tactic or new technique or new attack or something like that.
I have to say, the loopy fight is, because he has 3 phases, is a lot more engaging and fun because you're like, okay, he's on stage 1. And then, get his name, make sure you tell me when he gets to stage 2, or, you have to watch out for the stage 2. And it's really engaging, whereas the other bosses' fights in a row are
just walk away.
And for anyone who's on iTunes, I'm just hitting my hand over and over again and looking over the place. It's not doesn't work when you describe it, but
No, basically, is what I do with the Guardian if I have to go get a drink, is push my 1 key with my hammer and then just walk away. Because I'll just auto attack down anything that's there. And I don't need to be there to see that. I can just be paying attention to something else and just hit my 2 skill every so often. So that was a huge change. And they talked a lot more about, rewards and things. They were very hesitant on how they describe things. They talked about custom arenas a lot, but the potential of allowing you to turn off certain features and turn on certain features. You will have to pay for custom arenas, but for PvP stuff, but they said the cost shouldn't be too bad, or I think they're going to lower the cost. They didn't actually talk about how much it was. They talked about a potential huge, but then they kind of backtracked about an AoE nerf, because they're saying right now when you go into a dungeon, nobody wants, why bring, let's use a thief as an example. High spike damage for single targets. Well, if a thief can do an attack that does 10 damage to one character, but an elementalist can do an attack that does 5 damage to 5 damage to 5 characters, why bother bringing the thief when you can just keep spamming the elementalist and take out more stuff, and it's about the same amount of cost of time and energy or whatever to do it. So what they said is they're looking at nerfing possibly AoEs, because there's no going in as a single a character that can heavy single spike damage a single target. You don't really have any benefit over anybody that casts a necromancer with wells or an elementalist or anything with massive AoE. So potential to nerf all of the AoE, or do something, maybe they said possibly doing something for single target things, or the crazy one, giving some bosses and things resistance to AoE attacks. If you have to do a ground targeted circle, they'll get an armor or a resistance, a reverse agony type deal, to give them resistance to AoE, which I think is getting a little weird. I wouldn't do that. But
What
keep an eye.
Yeah.
what would be the use for, like, I use a staff for an elementalist, and we, except for the one skill, we have nothing but AoE, and that's why I like it, but it's just like, you're going to nerf AoE, and that's going to create problems with staff users, and we're going to have to, like, leave the staff completely. It's like, if they're going to do that, they might as well go ahead and give us weapon swapping.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I agreed.
And the thing is like, oh my god, I just totally forgot what I was going to say. I had something lined up, and it was like, no.
I'm sorry.
No.
Well,
that
funny that you mentioned.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
It was just basically, they kind of, I hate this idea that everything, yes, in PvP, everything needs to be equal, but things don't have to be exactly the same. I mean, not every class has to have AoE, the same AoE capacities, and every class has to be able to do that, because freaking, okay, elementalists have massive AoE, but we don't freaking have stealthing like thieves do. And like, they're not meant to be the same. The whole reason that I have so many different characters is because they're different playstyles, and I find different ones fun. And I find AoE fun, then I want to play an AoE character. But if you're going to make it difficult for me and penalize, like, I feel like the weapon swapping on elementalists is just a penalty. It's not because it has any reason, it's just like, they're like, okay, maybe they're a little bit too smart, so we're just going to penalize them, and so make it difficult in encounters where other people naturally have ranged. They're not going to be able to have range, so people can pick them off. I feel like it's that sort of thing where it's just silly things where someone's nitpicked about something and not looking at the fun of the game, but rather looking at it's not fair, I don't want to have fun, I just want to, dominate and make, and that sort of thing where I just want everything to be equal and people to be brought down to my level. It frustrates me so much. Makes me angry.
Well, it's not so much that as people that are like a thief with no AoE going, nobody will take me in a dungeon because I'm a thief and I do heavy single target, when they'd rather have 2 elementalists or a couple of tankier type people and AoE people, and I have to sit out because nobody wants to take a thief.
I've never seen that. I've never seen in map chats.
We're on Tarnished Coast.
Oh, okay.
Tarnished Coast, a nice group of people.
Yeah.
There's
even
millions
on
of
Sorrow's
others.
Furnace.
Okay.
It's just
Well,
like...
okay. Well, Alucardalina's got other examples, but I mean, there are tons of other servers where people complain about this kind of stuff.
Obviously, they're very competitive.
I think it's just
servers.
one server. I think it's just one server. They're just like, let's just not agree with anything ever.
For Aspenwood. Oh, did I say something? No, I didn't.
They
We know
mentioned.
you're out there.
Yeah, they mentioned, and I don't know if this is true, but they said in there that AoE cap is 5, which we knew. Like if you put down a fireball and 6 people run it, it's only going to hit, fire, like a lava font. Only 6 people go in, only 5 people get hit. They said that the siege capacity is 50, which I know has not been the case recently, unless they changed it. Because it used to be just 3 weeks ago, like an arrow cart, you'd shoot 100 arrows up in the air and hit 5 people. They said in the interview 50. I don't know if I believe it. I'll believe it when I see it.
Maybe someone spasmed on the 0 key.
Maybe. They were speaking. It was,
Oh, okay.
You can actually get their Twitch TV channel. It's on there. You can go watch them.
They wrote it down first.
Oh yeah,
in
that's
a
right.
form
They did
first.
write it. Yeah. So, they said they're going to increase all the traits and skills, like the weak ones. So because their main thing, and I get this, they're saying like certain classes have 3 or 4 or 5 viable builds that you can run in PvP and PvE, but there's some classes that have like 1, and that's it. And I feel like a ranger falls into that group, because from what I hear, trap rangers are really good, but every other ranger is really bad. Which I would agree with the second part. I don't know about the first part. But they want to boost all the weak skills and traits to kind of even that out and give other people other options. They want to add a way to. They're possibly talking about a way to get ascended gear in World versus World. So as a world versus world player, you have access to that. We're talking about abilities and skills and things, access like world v world only ones, which I thought was kind of cool. He talked a lot about how they're planning on implementing new PvP matches, like capture the flag, and they tested a few different things. Alucardalina, you watched both of them, right?
Which ones?
Did you watch the live streams from today?
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
What else? I have just a few things written down, but I know there was a lot more stuff. Does anything else? You remember anything else that was major that came out of that?
I'm drawing blanks right now.
Yeah, too. I'm just trying to think if anything.
What about the cat?
You know, they talked. Yeah, and catatonics. They really talked about that. They were trying to. They really couldn't give too much information. Oh, that was the thing they talked a lot about. Not giving anybody hard deadlines. That was the thing they talked about like 3 or 4 times, where they don't want to come out and say we're going to give it to you this day, because, and they mentioned we'll give it to you when it's ready, many times.
Well, I thought it was pretty much established. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, people complain. So they're like, guesting's coming out on the 28th. We're good. Guesting, 28th, and we're done now.
Yeah, but see, there's already people whining about that. Like, I'm on a North American server. I can't guest European server. You guys.
Well,
yeah,
I know
that's pretty much. That's pretty much all I got out of the 2 live things today was angry fans in the chat side.
Yeah, there was a lot.
So, like, guild caves and guild halls now.
Yeah, guild halls were screamed over and over in capital letters, like guild halls, guild halls, guild halls.
And I love
there
how
was this one guy who was copying pasting it.
Ruby is in there going, they can't see the chat, guys. They can't see the chat, guys.
Yeah.
I promise it's not on the paper they're reading.
They can't what you're typing. Stop. Like spamming about guild halls. They can't read it. In the first live stream, it was guild halls and in-game marriage. They spammed that like crazy.
What?
In-game
I didn't see the marriage part, but I think I was seeing different people than I was the second time.
You know what it was is I miscalculated the times. So I originally went on at 2 o'clock instead of 3 o'clock my time, so an hour before. And, like, the chat was full of people, and I'm like, it must just be starting like shortly. No, starting in an hour, but they're spamming about guild halls and how in-game marriage should exist.
Yeah, I came in 30 minutes early.
Yeah.
But what would be the use for marriage? In-game?
Absolutely nothing.
Roleplay. But, I mean, it's like in Guild Wars 1, you know, there wasn't any in-game marriage, but my character got married to my husband's character anyways, before we actually got married in real life. Anyways, that's a long story. But there's a lot of people that do that for role-playing purposes, or just because they've been role-playing with the same, not role-playing, but playing with the same person for a long time, and in certain games, the marrying system is in, and if you marry someone, your character gets a boost, or like a new buff, like the marrying buff, or you get a title, or, you know, all these neat stuff. So I think the wedding thing would be a cool addition, but other than that,
I think a lot of people want player housing before that, I reckon.
Well, then you can move into a house together.
Yeah!
Guild halls.
Guild halls.
Yeah.
Guild halls have houses.
Guild hall.
Yeah.
Well, High Love good, by the way.
I get guild caves.
Yeah. Zenshu brought it up in the chat, and I forgot. They said one of the things they're doing is they're going to ore, and they're changing things in ore and reinventing stuff to make you want to go back there. Adding new stuff, changing things to make you want to go and visit Oregon if you haven't been there in a while.
I'm so sorry.
That's so true.
Totally in the chat room said a ninth profession, lawyer.
Because of the people getting married and
'Cause you need
divorced.
to get yeah.
Can I get like a
Oh.
judge icon or like a priest icon so that I can marry people in game?
Yeah.
I'll play lawyer.
You can go to the Mystic Forge and throw in a bunch of tiny totems and a few other things, and then forge a priest icon book that you can click, and then you become a priest.
You can
Wedding
officially,
rings.
yeah, become a minstrel. Oh
Uh,
man.
They also talked about new daily and monthly. They mentioned that was in the thing, but how the daily achievements will change daily. So it'll be new achievements every day, and they'll be like they might be 6 achievements, and you only need 4 to complete the daily. So you get to pick.
Oh man.
What?
Now our daily under 20 minutes
yeah.
is like
It's out the window. Yeah, I know.
no.
Yeah. It was something else that I remembered. Oh, World versus World-wise. They said they're not opposed to, because people were like, why do we have like Blackgate Defender when we fight them? Why can't we have their names? And they were saying, some of it made a lot of sense. They said they weren't necessarily opposed to player names. But they said, when you see something like Blackgate Invader or, Fort Aspenwood Invader, you develop a hatred and a rivalry with the whole server, not just that one guy. Which,
Yeah.
as we on Tarnished Coast and Chronicles of Tyria know, we hate Fort Aspenwood. It's not like we hate one guy on Fort Aspenwood. We hate the whole server. Where, you
Speak
know what
for
I mean?
yourselves. I love everyone
I don't.
equally.
I hate for Aspenwood.
Hate is a
I
big
can-
word. Dislike might be okay.
You don't like PvP anyway. It doesn't count.
No, I don't.
You've never been spending hours trying to re-siege a jumping puzzle.
Plus,
You don't know.
I did a dungeon AC with 3 Fort Aspenwood people, and all 3 of them were obnoxious jerks, and only 2 of them were together. So that means that 1/3 guy from Fort Aspenwood was also an obnoxious jerk. So yeah.
Yeah.
Did that help my hatred?
Sucks.
Man, we got some serious Fort Aspenwood hating in the chat. I won't read it out loud, but we we have some people not liking Fort Aspenwood. But so I get that, and it is. I mean, World versus World is a server based, and it's pride for your server. So that's why they're not doing player names. But at the same time, they also said, like, if you're really awesome, like, you kind of want to get recognition for that. Like, if you're kicking ass at World versus World, you don't want to be like, oh, that random human that's on Tarnished Coast Invader 1, that guy over there. You want it to be like, oh, that's Lagwyn. He's awesome. Let's, I hate that guy. He killed me a whole bunch of times, or he rallied everybody and did this. So they talked about possibly it'd have to be something you could toggle on and off so that not everybody could do it if they didn't want to. And then they also talked about maybe making it a gem store purchase, where you purchase the ability to have your name viewable.
Another reason that they said that it wouldn't be good and why it would have to be a toggle on and off thing is because of bullying.
Yeah, harassment.
Which has happened before when you could send a report and you could get their name, because you can't do that now. But you used to get their username, and you'd message them, and people would get like bullied all the time. So
Really, that bad?
yes,
Sheesh, man. It's just a game.
We used to
I bet
use
it's
it
Fort
so we could talk
Aspenwood.
to the other team. Yeah, we used to use it so we could talk to the other team that was fighting Fort Aspenwood with us, so we could team up against them in the jumping puzzle. And that's how we had our dance parties and things with the other server. So yeah. I don't think I have anything else. If you guys haven't seen it, I'm sure Guild Wars 2 Guru would do like a write-up of what useful came out of that, because they seem to always do it.
They have the videos up still on their Twitch channel.
That's what I was get. She beat me to it. The other thing
Sorry.
I'd say, if you no, it's fine. If you guys haven't seen it, I would highly recommend checking them out. A lot of useful information, a lot of stuff I'm sure we all missed. But interesting stuff about it was 3 people. One was PvE. I can't remember their names. I think Mike Ferguson might have been one of them. I don't know. You have one World v World guy, an SPVP guy, and a PvE guy. So, yeah. Check that out. And I think with that, guys, unless anybody has anything else they want to mention, I think we can kind of close this one up.
I want to mention to everyone who's listening to the podcast right now, thank you very much for listening, downloading. Please go to iTunes, leave us a review, rate 5 stars, because we love you. That's what I want to say.
Well,
And I said
alright then.
Truthfully, I just want to beat Tyria after dark. No, I love these guys. But they're the best rated so far.
191 subscribers. We got another one since the show.
Oh, man.
9 away from the video apocalypse.
All those subscribed to YouTube should unsubscribe right away.
Folks on Project Tyria and be like, hey, like them.
That's another thing I want to give a shout out to is Alucardalina's website, which is Project Tyria, which is projecttyria.blogspot.com. There'll be a link to it in the description on YouTube. It's also linked in the show notes. But yeah, I would definitely recommend checking that out because it's awesome.
And
she's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. You guys have to subscribe to her website because soon she'll have a big announcement.
Yep.
Stop
I know
being,
what it is.
stop being like that. This is how Naveen the Jerk started. You forgot. Naveen the Jerk's back, everybody that knows. Naveen the Jerk. She's returned.
And the secret we can't know.
No. So, yeah, I think we can close this up. Alucardalina, every time I go and look at your Winter's Day page and it says Winter's Day wrap up, I think My Little Pony every time I see it.
Good.
Good. Is that what that was about?
Yes.
That's what I... Alright, nice. So, if nobody else has anything, anybody else? Kaysee? Anybody? No? You good?
Good.
Okay. So, for episode 31, guys, we're already over 30 episodes. Maybe we'll do something when we hit 50.
31? That's how old I am. I'm old.
Bring us down, Naveen. So, yes. Episode number 31, the 5 Races, 5 Cities podcast. I'm Lagwyn.
And I'm Kaysee.
I'm Naveen.
I'm Carolina.
See you next time.
Oh, wait.
Bye.